Hola, ¿cómo están? I snuck away from the family so I could make a video just for you. Here I am under my clothesline, and I want to talk about how to avoid bombs in language learning with your children. And by that I mean things that they hate and you drop. And also how to avoid you burning out. One thing I have noticed with my children is just because the activity will teach them language does not mean that they're going to like it. If they would not like the activity in English, they're not going to like it so much in Spanish either. If you can understand that just because it's in Spanish doesn't mean it's hot, then you can avoid a whole lot of bombs. Would your children do this in English? That's a question. That's a question to ask yourself. Would they like this in English? Okay, when you first start learning a language with your children, think of the things kids like and do that in Spanish. Kids like red light, green light, do it in Spanish. They like Simon Says, do that in Spanish. Who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? Do a version of that in Spanish. I know of a version of that. This is a game, what time is it, Mr. Wolf? Say, ¿qué hora es? Have them say times. What do I have? Hide and seek. Count in Spanish before you do it. Play catch and say some chants in Spanish. Put some vowels up on the walls and say, A, and let them throw something on the wall that has the A, or say O, and they throw something on the wall with the O. And that's your Spanish lesson. They're going to like these Spanish lessons because kids like stuff like that. Show and tell. They don't have to say much. They can say one word. Okay? They go and they find a dinosaur. They say, dinosaurio. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay? I'd put an object in a bag, ask them to feel it, and then they have to say what it is in Spanish, if possible. If they couldn't say it in Spanish, they just say it in English. Memory games where you match cards. Uno. Let them play it, and as they're playing it, you say the numbers and the colors in Spanish, and they're going to pick up on it. Very simple songs that don't have a lot of words. The Happy Birthday song that I know that's in Spanish has 2 words. Easy. Baby Shark song. Just sing the parts that don't have a lot of words. Easy. Role-playing and skits are something my kids like to do in English, and they also like it in Spanish. I would play along with them. We had a lot of fun with different games and songs. As you do that, you can also read little books to your children. They like mommy to read to them. So it's going to be successful as long as the books are really easy. Then you get tired of that because that's a lot of playing for you and a lot of work for you, and it's time to get into some real Spanish. Time for them to level up. By this time they're getting older, and so you're going to want them to read. Now I have noticed that my children prefer to read in English, and when I tell them to read in Spanish, they sit there and their eyes go over the words, but they don't really care too much if they understand or not. They're not really taking it too seriously. Enter in, I'm going to question you. Oh, I'm going to give you exams. Okay, we're going to make sure you learn. So, you're going to read about rabbits. Okay, you learned something about rabbits? Now, you have 4 questions to answer, and I will be grading it. Okay, if you need Google Translate, you use Google Translate. If you don't, wonderful. Answer those questions in your notebook, and there will be an exam at the end of the unit. My kids did this. Was it real fun? No. Was it fine? Good enough? Yes, it was. Was it easy for me? Yes. Did it burn me out? Heavens no. Easy, easy, easy. I got this book for about $20, worth its weight in gold. Now, since we finished that one completely, we're on to this one, and I noticed that the 8th grade science is only a little bit harder than this one. So we can feel really good, like we are leveling up. We are really reading Spanish really well. And to listen to Spanish, we have videos. I haven't been able to find videos that my kids really like, but hopefully you'll be able to have a little more success than I am in the video department. And if we can read and we can listen and we can understand, when we go to start speaking with native speakers, it's not going to take us long for us to get good, right? And my children will speak to me in Spanish, but it would be better for us to speak with native speakers. And native speakers live around me, but I haven't really worked out a wonderful plan yet for how to get with native speakers and talk. I had something going, but it kind of burned us out because it was a church and it met late at night, and got to be a little too much for us. So if you have any tips for me on how to start getting my kids to speak with native speakers in a way that's not going to be a bomb or burn me out, please give me suggestions in the comments below. So just to recap, when you first start language learning, think to yourself, would my child like this in English? And if not, it's not going to be a hit long term. How about some fun and games? How about some things kids like? Okay, how about you read to them? They're gonna like that if it's easy. And then you're gonna get them into reading and them into videos. And if they need some motivation to take their reading seriously, ask them questions. Okay, give them little written tests. And of course, they have to be ready for it. This wasn't frustrating for my kids because they were ready. Don't push it, thinking I want my child to progress really fast. I'm gonna push the work on them, because if you're too pushy, they're gonna hate it, and you don't want that. You want them to either have fun with it or at least think it's pleasant, because you want them to work on it in their free time. You want them to work on it all throughout their life. And if you make it something that they hate, they're gonna forget about it as soon as possible. So you want to keep it pleasant, you want to keep it fun, or at least good enough, not a chore and not horrible. And so those are my tips for how to avoid language learning bombs and avoid burning yourself out. Adios.